Speaker. And it probably won't come as a surprise to members opposite, but I fundamentally disagree with the last speaker. I appreciated his passion, but I fundamentally disagree with his, because I'm proud that we're the only party in this House. I know the Secretary of State's getting a bit excited there. I'm going to come to him in a minute on tariffs, but I'll say we're the only party in this House objecting to this bill for the right reasons, because the Secretary of State repeatedly talked about making this country stronger. I don't think this bill does that. I think by nationalising, I just do not think governments can run businesses. Certainly, I say no disrespect, but certainly not that with the front bench that we've got at the moment in the government. And actually, I just think they will create inefficiencies, push up prices, and actually it will be the taxpayer that ends up stomaching the cost of that. So this does not make us stronger, it makes us weaker. And actually, the honourable member that was just before me said we're taking it back to the 1990s. I think this government is taking us back to the 1970s by pushing up those costs and lumbering the taxpayer. And hopefully a future Conservative government will have to unwind some of the real harm that will come to fruition. And of course, no one opposite can tell us where will this nationalisation stop. Will it be ceramics tomorrow? What will happen? Which industries will they pick and choose? But let me come on to the issue of tariffs in the limited time that I have, because I was also visited, like my honourable friend earlier, by a constituent, about all the honourable friends who've raised this, by Peter Watson of Davicon. And I've written to the Secretary of State about this, and it was only last week, so I respect that he may not have had time to come back to me, but I hope he does. It's the UK's leading mezzanine manufacturer, and the briefing that he put in front of me as a result of the tariffs and the quota reduction. So on merchant bars, it's a reduction of almost 97% and an increase of 50% in quotas. And for all the best of intention, or for whatever he wants to achieve, the reality is industry and markets do not work to the whims of government. They will not move quick enough to do that, and that will push up prices. In fact, the briefing I saw will mean that there will be an almost doubling of quota of per tonnage steel by the 1st of July. That is a cost that will have to be borne by industry. That is a cost that will have to be borne by taxpayers, because if we're talking about nuclear power plant creation or HS2, of course those are taxpayer-funded projects that will have to bear those costs. And I would say to the Secretary of State, I was listening to the Prime Minister yesterday at PMQs, it's clear that they obviously recognise there's an issue coming down the track. I would argue this should have been anticipated before the tariffs had come into place, but look, we are where we are. So I've written to the Secretary of State, I really would welcome some serious action on this. I know my honourable friend made a really eloquent argument about a delay in introduction on that. If that's not going to happen, he's shaking his head, if that's not going to happen, then let's look at those HS codes. But he does need to recognise that there's going to be a serious impact on steel industry and also the peripheral industries that rely on the steel manufacturing in this country.